This is Pukeology Podcast, where science meets your hilarious puke stories and the tips and tricks to stop that up-chuckle that you need.
You never know what's going to spew out of her mouth. Here's
my mama,
Dr. Puke Nomo.
To call the doctor or not to call the doctor? Now that is the question. I will take you through the 20 most common calls that I get and why I actually want to hear about them in today's version of Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 41, When to Call Your Doctor If You're Pregnant. Do you want no more morning sickness, pregnancy nausea, or how about no more headaches or migraines? Visit our sponsor, nomonausea.com, the only natural way to instantly stop your worst nausea, vomiting, or headaches now. Or just place your No More Nausea band on your baby registry for your delivery bag at Bye Bye Baby, or get it for free shipped on Amazon 2 days as a Prime vendor. And remember, your little ones are always taken care of with the first ever No More Nausea Kids and No More Sleepless Nights Kids, now available at your local CVS store. Imagine how awesome that would be to have your kids be able to get a good night's sleep. That means you do too. And that's what No More Sleepless Nights is. Go visit nomowristbands.com. You'll hear some pregnancy humor that may just make you want to pee your pants. Like you don't have to pee all the time anyway, with hilarious stories like pea soup, mucus, unplugged, and yummy sauce. If you want to learn more about your pregnancy, humor and knowledge is the key to help you survive these 9 months. And just know we're in this together. Today, you will learn the science behind the major issues in pregnancy that need medical attention ASAP. Basically, when to call your doctor if you've had any of these 20 signs, and we'll even leave you with some household remedies for minor issues to resolve pregnancy right there in your own home in today's version of Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 41, When to Call Your Doctor.
The science of puke, Pukeology.
It is normal to think what could possibly be a problem during your entire period of pregnancy. Now, I'll say that being a pregnant mom myself, I was always really nervous. And again, even being a physician, I still had some questions that I wanted to talk over with someone else just for some extra advice. So you may not be having serious problems or symptoms during your pregnancy, but there are other alarming signs and symptoms that are warranted for an intervention by a doctor or for you to go visit your OBGYN. You should definitely see your doctor if and when you experience any of the following signs while you're pregnant. Traces of blood in your urine. Hematuria is actually something that we get a little concerned about. Not necessarily because you may have a chronic problem already with having urinary tract infections, but instead we want to make sure that your kidneys are well working, because this could be a sign if they're not well working because of you're having blood inside of your urine. We could be concerned about things like preeclampsia, very high blood pressure, reasons why your actual kidneys just can't filter like they normally are. Now, puffiness around this and swelling in your eyes, hands, or face could just be the result of you having allergies or something that you're kind of allergic to, which we definitely want to know if there's been any medications prescribed. But if you have other symptomologies, what's called puffs, which is a certain type of disorder of the actual skin, where it kind of scales and peels off, those are other things that we want to take a look at, because your body is clearly having a histamine release. Histamine is our body's way of saying, hey, there's a problem. It actually makes more blood go to the area, hence why it gets really swollen and inflammatory process is started. And sometimes it can just be as a result of eating something that your body just didn't like. Now, frequent and bloody diarrhea. Diarrhea is problematic, not when it's 1 or 2 days, but if it is really bad, we worry about a lot of different items such as your hydration status, the turgidity of your skin. So if you actually pinch your skin and pull it, if it doesn't retract back, that means that you're pretty dehydrated, and I would like to make sure that you get some water in. What that can do is that can cause actual preterm or Braxton Hicks type contractions if you're not well hydrated, especially if you have some sort of virus or bacterial infection. But we really are concerned for bloody diarrhea and frequent diarrhea, bad enough to where you're just not getting the right amount of water intake. Now, the yellowing of your skin or the white parts of your eyes. This is what we call jaundice. Don't worry, most of your babies will have a little jaundice. I said that my little son, we actually had to get UV lights to help to break down that bilirubin. But that's only because their liver is not well formed. So they're unable to filter things like we can. The issue is if you're having problems where you're getting yellowing of your skin or the whites of your eyes, I worry about your liver. So we want to make sure that we do some tests to make sure that your liver is handling this pregnancy well. Now, severe nausea and vomiting that happens more than 3 times a day. I'm not just talking one time, or if you know that you have something like the rotavirus, I'm saying nausea and vomiting to where it's just continuous. And again, the hydration status is what we're worried about. If you have any dizzy or fainting spells along with it, that is a little, makes us a little nervous. A lot of women that come in physiologically end up getting what we call heart murmurs. Murmurs of the heart are kind of like little blips or weird sounds that we actually hear. And it's where your heart is trying to make up for the excess that's going on. And I say pregnancy is excess because I mean that pregnancy will increase the amount of fluid, meaning that you have more blood to pump and circulate, obviously increasing the amount of blood that you're producing because you will lose blood whenever you have the baby. But you're also having other conditions, the movement of your actual stomach and everything else. And believe it or not, your heart does shift a little bit to the right-hand side. It kind of goes up and to the right, causing some EKG changes. And with all of that excess fluid, sometimes because we're also having lots of impulse of relaxin, which is an actual hormone that causes your everything to relax, right? So your tendons, your ligaments are nice and relaxed. And upon doing so, your heart, think of it, it's kind of like that too, where if you parallel your heart to a door, the actual door will not bow, but the frame might. So that's something to consider. Again, it's called a prolapse is what it is for an actual valve. And that's something that we consider as a sign if you start having fainting or dizziness. And please, mamas, I live in Florida. I was pregnant during the summer. Make sure that if you are out and about in the summer that you are really staying hydrated because we see a high incidence to triage because of patients that come in. They are severely dehydrated and we actually have to place IVs just to get them back up to that status that they need to be at. Severe and sudden headaches that usually persist more than 2 to 3 hours. Everyone thinks, oh my goodness, second trimester headaches and migraines, which is absolutely the case. That's why Nomo migraine was invented, utilizing acupressure as well as essential oils. But this is where it's so severe that we worry about preeclampsia and we worry about high blood pressure that the mom can suddenly start to have a surge. Same thing goes for flank pain. Again, flank pain is your body's way of telling you that the spleen is actually just super flooded, and that's that flank pain. And unfortunately, when you have a mom that has severe preeclampsia that can actually go into eclampsia, the only remedy or solution is to actually take the baby out. Cramps and pains in your legs, chest, or arms. It is very uncommon to have cramps or pains that traverse from the chest or the arms unless you've actually had surgical intervention of some sort of laparoscopic surgery, which most women don't actually have to have surgery unless it's for their gallbladder and they can schedule it thereafter. I'm talking about really bad pains. This is something that we definitely want to know because, again, your heart is a well-working iron machine. And what happens if you are having some sort of cardiac abnormality? We want to know about it. Difficulties urinating. This is not just a sign that your kidneys are not working properly, that you're not just dehydrated, but also we worry about the renal function that you may have. Some women actually are predisposed to have other conditions like sickle cell anemia, other diabetes, for example. And when they get pregnant, it just manifests into a big end organ problem. So multiple organs that are working together, they start kind of shutting down. And if they're shutting down, guess what, guys? We're not peeing. So that's a big problem that we tend to look for. Having spots in your eyes or blurred vision that can last for more than some minutes. Again, thinking of blood pressure, but also we're thinking in terms of what's going on with the actual optic nerve, the nerve that lies in behind. Same thing goes that if you have what's called a detached retina, we need to know about it because your body's just not used to all of this excess fluid, and babies can do very interesting things. Believe it or not, physiologically, your body will change more while you're pregnant than really in any other stage of your life. Constant bleeding. Bleeding is a big one, guys. Any type of bleeding, we want to know about it for sure. If you are feeling super thirsty, followed by like a reduction in urination, or you're not urinating through the day, we're a little concerned, not just about diabetes, because again, you could be type 1 diabetic and just not have known about it or not have had the symptomology because you eat really well and healthy. Most people that have this actually do, this is what we call diabetes for children, is type 1, where your body just doesn't produce any type of insulin. But again, sometimes you can have a manifestation during pregnancy with all this excess stress. Severe pain in the lower abdomen in either or both sides that does not end, and even while you're not bleeding. So severe pain in the lower abdominal region. And of course, if you're not in your last trimester, if you're not cramping, and if it's not timely, this is a complication and an issue that we need to know about. Round ligament pain happens, which means that a lot of women get this like underneath the belly type pain, but that's as their belly is starting to grow and shift, not necessarily severe pain that just will not go away. So we worry about things from the placenta. Placenta previa, placental abruption. We worry about the communication of where the baby is being housed, the uterus, and obviously the placenta, which is giving them vital nutrients and is keeping them alive and well. So we want to make sure that you and the baby are good. If you're having anxiety and depression, mental health issues are very common in pregnancy. Your body is actually interpreting a lot of hormonal changes. So like if you're having like evil thoughts causing harm to your baby and or causing harm to yourself, please let us know. And again, we will get you psychiatric help that is needed. It is not a weakness, ladies. Your mental health status, in my opinion, is number 1. Your physical is number 2, but mental health is extremely important because it's not just the mental health of yourself, but it's also of the baby, and we would never want anything to be causing harm. And then the lack of movement. So when counting kicks after 28 weeks of pregnancy, realizing that less than 10 movements in the span of 2 hours, even after snacking or eating some fruit juice, but the lack of activity doesn't necessarily mean that there's always something wrong, but it could be very, very alarming, and it would signal like requiring emergency medical attention. So please make sure, if you haven't felt your baby in a while, eat something that's sweet that usually gets them moving, or turn on some music or something that they actually enjoy so they start moving. And if you don't feel anything, if the kick count, like we said, is less than 2 movements within a span of 2 hours, please go see your either family practice physician or OBGYN or whoever it is that is taking care of you during prenatal health, because we need to take an ultrasound and make sure that the baby is still alive and well. Now, signs of premature labor also indicate that some complications of your pregnancy. You should seek immediate help from your doctor if you experience any of these signs in preterm labor. Like that's considered premature labor also. Abnormal or table cramping accompanied by pain and the regular tightening of your lower abdomen or back. I, at 7 months, actually had an undiagnosed urinary tract infection. I've never had one before. And while I was pregnant, I, did my routine peeing in the cup. Unfortunately, something happened on my last visit where they never ended up actually testing it. And then I got very curious and did my own dipstick when I was at the hospital and recognized that I was having preterm labor associated with, with urinary tract infection was actually causing it. So it was untreated. So definitely make sure that whenever you do go give your urine samples, that you make sure that you talk to your doctor and say, hey, is there anything wrong? Or am I having any type of infections or bacteria that I need to worry about? Things like that, especially if you're cramping before your third trimester. Certain changes in movement of your baby after 28 weeks of pregnancy, shortness or getting difficult to breathe for a continuous duration. Shortness of breath is a big one, especially now during COVID-19. Protect yourself and your child. Please make sure that you are wearing a mask whenever you're going someplace. Wash your hands continuously, but let your physician know. Again, go get swabbed. They're all over the place for COVID-19 tests because having a normal flu or bacterial infection, shortness of breath is not very common, especially if you're sensing chest pain along with it. We need to get you into the hospital ASAP. Severe pressure in your vagina or your pelvis during the first trimester, that happens, right? So pressure because you're growing the baby and stuff, it becomes normal in the second and third trimester. But during that first trimester, if you're sensing like severe pressure and or you're getting abdominal pain, you could be having an ectopic pregnancy. Or if you feel like a bump on the side or on one side or the other, this could be indicative that you're not actually pregnant, or you are pregnant. It's just the baby has not moved to the correct spot and emergency surgery is sometimes needed. Leakage and fluid. If you are starting to feel like you're peeing yourself all the time and it's not pee, we need to get you into the hospital because we need to basically supercharge you for getting ready to have this baby. And hopefully we can help to stop the labor and stop the contractions before they start. And then any incidences of bleeding either in the second or third trimester, apart from doing a vaginal exam or right after sex. Again, bleeding is not normal, especially when it's in high concentration. If you are in your very first trimester and you actually don't even know if you're pregnant or not, some people confuse implantation, cramps, as well as a little bit of bleeding for their period, which in essence, it's actually not. It just means that the baby is trying to stick to the sidewalls of the uterus. So please, ladies, don't ignore these pregnancy symptoms because they are not normal. And I like to use the acronym and I tell my patients, get in your car and go when you check your MPGs. So again, not miles per gallon this time, but MPG stands for movement, lack thereof, which is the M, P for pain, abdominal, side pain, headaches. Those are all different types of pain that you need to come talk to us about. And G is gross or gain. So gross is gross stuff like bleeding or abnormal vaginal discharge. If you want more information about abnormal vaginal discharge and what those colors are telling you, please go over to episode 22. It's actually called vaginal discharge. And gain, right? A fast or a rapid weight loss or weight gain is something that we need to take a look at. So again, head into your car, go visit your doctor if you have your MPGs, movement, pain, or gross or gain.
Throwing up on a Tuesday? One puke story.
We were waiting for the perfect way to tell our parents how we were pregnant. So we decided to tell them over lunch and had everyone was going to open their photo card, which we said it was a Christmas card, but it was actually an ultrasound photo of our little baby. After their soup and before their salad. Well, the soup of the day was pea green soup. And the second I looked at it, I started dry heaving. And then, of course, I threw up behind my chair. My dad yells out, "Congrats on you're pregnant." It ruined the whole surprise, but it made everyone laugh. Thanks, Mishi11, or it's either that or it's Michelle. Thank you so much for that hilarious puke story. I was in my last trimester of my first pregnancy and everyone talked about the mucus plug, but I never thought it looked like that. And it literally dropped out of me. I was so grossed out that I started throwing up uncontrollably and told my husband I was peeing on myself, so to go get a towel. He said, either we have a toilet leak or your water just broke. Our baby boy was born soon after we got to the hospital. Alrighty. Well, thanks, Nan N-A-N-M-O-M, Nan Mom 3, for that hilarious story. Japanese steakhouses are wonderful, especially the delicious yummy yummy sauce, which sends me running to the toilet after dinner. It stank so bad that it made me sick. I guess that gives it a new term of not wanting to be inside of the same bathroom with yourself, right? What I didn't know is that I had left over up-chuck on my shirt that the belly caught. So my husband, when I came back to the table, said, "Babe, I didn't know that you're still getting morning sickness." I was mortified. My entire table knew that I was puking my guts out inside the bathroom. Then I had to confess that the yummy sauce wasn't so yummy coming back up. Thanks a lot. See China 775 for that hilarious puke story. Now, do you have a hilarious pregnancy story that you just can't wait to share? Send it to me. Pukeology, Pukeology @nomonausea.com. That's NOMONAUSEA.com. Or tweet me @Pukeology so we can all have a good laugh.
Tips and tricks to stop the up-chuckle that you need.
Urinary tract infections are a common reason to see mild discoloration of redness or blood inside of your urine. You're even more prone to them during pregnancy, but during your pregnancy, if undetected and untreated, can actually cause preterm labor. Now, you also have to remember that some sort of urinary tract infections can cause mild pain. Notice we're talking mild, not major pain that we talked about inside of the MPG acronym from before. But here are some great home remedies for urinary tract infections. Cranberry juice. I know everyone talks about it, but believe it or not, it actually has antibacterial properties that are wonderful at keeping your kidneys flowing nice and good. Drink a lot of water. This flushes it. Apple cider vinegar is another one because what we're trying to do is actually get your pH back to a more balanced setting. Tea tree oil, which has been known when ingested, but also even on the skin, has both antibacterial and antifungal properties. Make sure that whenever you're making your little tincture or mixture that you're not pouring in too much of the oil, and we'll have more of that information on the actual blog itself. Eat up some blueberries, and not only that, but some pineapples too. Both of those are incredible as they give you different releases of wonderful added advantage. So you actually are able especially with pineapple, for example, it has natural enzymes that help to break things down. And so this way, whenever you eat something or you drink something, your body is able to break it down quicker, thus allowing your kidneys to work a little bit better. And nothing is better, in my opinion, for your liver or your kidneys than lemon water. So again, have those lemons, squeeze it as much as you want. Just don't add the sugar for the lemonade. You don't necessarily need it. Now, are you curious about why you pee all the time during your pregnancy? Well, go check out Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 11, Frequent Urination in Pregnancy, and I'll tell you all about why you have to pee starting from the first trimester all the way up until the very end. Now, home remedies for anemia are what a lot of women that already have a predisposition to having anemia, which is your low blood count. Women have this because, let's say, they have really intense periods, or that they may actually have other problems on their uterine structure. So some of these women end up having like ovarian cysts. Others have different problems with their actual, uterine fibroids, for example. But what's awesome is if you do suffer from uterine fibroids or things like that, during pregnancy, it's actually like a treatment, right? So you don't get these horrible bloody periods. So some of these women, I know that they literally like to try to stay pregnant as much as possible because there's no pain associated with it. But anemia can cause extreme lethargy. It can cause exhaustion, problems oxygenating. And a lot of times it can be caused or due to an underlying medical different types of conditions. Sickle cell trait, for example, or sickle cell anemia, and other different types of protein C and S enzymatic problems within the actual blood itself. All of these things are things that usually most normal, healthy women don't even know about. But whenever we're getting blood work drawn, it's something to take a look at. So when you get close to your due date, you'll have your blood drawn all the time. Just get used to it, ladies. And they do this in order to make sure that you have enough red blood cells to handle the potential loss of 500 mLs to 1,000 mLs during your delivery or your C-section. Bleeding abnormalities also may be a reason why you cannot have a spinal or epidural for your delivery. And it's not just your red blood cells, but it's also your platelet function. How does your body heal itself? How can it aggregate? I'm trying to think of the non-medical word for it, but for blood cells that you don't get that sticky type of glue, how do you clot, right? So all of these things are very important for you to talk to, not just your anesthesiologist, but also to your OBGYN. So here are some great ways, though, to naturally build up your body's production of red blood cells. Bone marrow broth. Make it into a soup. It is phenomenal. Beetroot is another one. Any type of really dark, think of dark red or dark green leafy vegetables and stuff. Those are all iron. Those all have high iron concentrations, like spinach. Pomegranate is another one. Dates, apples, and bananas are great for red blood cell production. And make sure that you are taking your folic acid. It is very important for you and your baby's production of B12. The essential nutrients that every pregnant woman needs during pregnancy is identified, and hence why prenatal vitamins are important, and a good diet also. So get your folic acid, rich foods that have iron, calcium, protein, and fiber. And the exact concentrations of how much you should be taking or consuming on an everyday basis is actually detailed for you in episode 3, Why Take Prenatal Vitamins. And don't stop there. Check out episode 16, Foods You Should Be Eating in Pregnancy, and why they're so important to you and your baby's growth. Now, if you have morning sickness, you're not alone. It has been reported that more than 70% of women experience nausea during pregnancy, so don't call your doctor right away. Now, if you have something called Hyperemesis Gravidarum, which I wrote an entire podcast on this, it's in episode 6, it's a severe form of nausea and vomiting that needs medical attention, and literally it is extreme vomiting all day, every day, for every single day that you're pregnant. And we need to make sure that you're adequately hydrated. Some of these women actually stay inside of the hospital because they can't keep the hydration status going. These poor women have it all day, every day. But for most of us who just have the occasional morning sickness, here are 7 amazing natural ways to help treat nausea. And I bet you already have them in your house. Number 1 is apples. Because apples are high in fiber, they actually help your upset stomach. So fiber helps to rid your body of chemicals that may be causing your nausea. Apple juice can also help with nausea as well. Hence why if you've ever been on a cruise, you'll see that they have apples, which the pectin, the outside of it, is good for seasickness. Same exact reason. Now, lemons are great for stopping nausea, and smell them too. Don't just consume them. Citrus fruits are known to help calm and cool the stomach. So sucking on a lemon or drinking lemon water will help to stop your nausea. Additionally, lemons or lemon juice contains an array of vitamins, which is also beneficial for your health too. Ginger. People have been using ginger to help from getting sick for 2,000 years. Many studies have shown that ginger actually helps to relieve nausea and vomiting. Ginger can be taken in a variety of ways, from making a tea or swallowing a capsule. crackers, eating saltines. Now, every pregnant woman has saltine crackers, I feel like, next to her bed. But that's a very common way. The fiber that is in the starch works to help absorb the gastric acid, stopping your nausea because you may be producing too much gastric acid. All of these are great remedies for curing nausea, but sometimes when you're feeling sick, you don't want to ingest anything because it actually makes it worse. So putting anything down your mouth will actually increase your stomach acids. So women during pregnancy have an increase in the acid reflux, hence the Tums. That also is probably next to those saltine crackers. But try out some non-edible solutions like peppermint oil. Peppermint oil is one of the most common cures for nausea and vomiting. It helps by breathing it in. The aromatic aromatherapy gives it a cooling sensation too on the skin. And you can even chew gum, right? Or mint tea will also help. Now, acupressure. It's been found for thousands of years to apply constant pressure on what we call the P6 point, which is the median nerve that lies underneath that point, which is 3-finger distance in between your first two tendons. That's where the point is, and this will actually create anti-nausea hormones when held on consistently about 45 minutes after you put pressure to it. And your body will naturally produce these anti-nausea hormones and keep them circulating for 12 or 24 hours even after pressure has been removed. Don't have time to squeeze your wrist and sniff chewing gum and sniff other things? Try Nausea. It's the best of both worlds. It combines essential oil with pressure point technology in a stylish, easy-to-wear wristband, and it gives immediate relief when you need it most. Believe it or not, it is used by thousands, or actually recommended by thousands of doctors, OBGYNs specifically, and used inside of hospitals during your labor and delivery for postoperative nausea and vomiting. So grab one. You may never know if you need to put it inside of your delivery bag. Now, don't call your doctor for absolutely everything. But if you have any of the 20 reasons that I listed and these natural remedies were not working, make sure that you call your doctor because we want to hear from you. And I hope that those awesome home remedies were helpful to help you get through these 9 months. If you love Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, let me know with a 5-star rating or hearts for likes. Don't forget to download this episode, but more importantly, share it with all your Prego friends. Thanks again for listening to Pregnancy Pukeology Podcast, episode 41, When You Should Call Your Doctor in Pregnancy.
Pukeology Podcast, edutainment at its finest.